Hello, welcome to Nutrition Sound Bites. This is Gwendolyn Eisler. I'm a registered dietitian, and I'm here today to talk with you about the benefits of rutabagas. Here is a very maligned vegetable. Everyone thinks that rutabagas are awful, but they are actually excellent. When you eat them raw, they have a crunch that is very similar to an apple, and they have sort of a sweet taste. I cut this away so that you could see it. It has sort of a, it has sort of a uh, cream color, and that color comes from the beta carotene that's in there. It's very, very high in fiber, and it's kept fresh while it's in transit to your table by having a waxy coat put on it. This is one of the most wonderful vegetables that you might ever want to try. And in a few minutes, I'm going to talk about the sample that I brought in today. But I wanted to sort of give you an idea of why it would benefit you to try rutabagas. You could eat them fresh, as I'm presenting them today. They can be roasted, they can be boiled. They are just an excellent fruit. They can be baked, they can be mashed, and they're very, very low in calories, very low in sugar, very high in fiber. But that is only the beginning of the story. What really makes rutabagas so excellent as a vegetable is that it's filled with phytochemicals or phytonutrients. It's filled with vitamins, minerals. It has a category of compounds that are called indoles, and one in particular, glucosinolate, is the one that actually kills cancer. So when we hear about the rise of cancer, and I think everyone fears developing cancer, and we wonder, what can I do to avoid it? One of the things that you can do is begin to introduce rutabagas into your regular lifestyle. It is a vegetable that you could have at least once a month or several times a year, and studies show that it actually helps to reduce the risk of thyroid cancer in people who have thyroid cancer as a family history. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but definitely you want to include rutabagas there. Rutabagas are part of a group of vegetables that are called cruciferous. So it's in the same family as turnips, broccoli, bok choy, cabbage, Brussels sprouts. It's in that same family. So it's a cancer fighter right off the top. It's filled with antioxidants, and they actually quench free radicals. Free radicals are compounds that hasten the aging process. They injure the tissues inside our body and make us subject to various forms of disease. They're sort of the underlying cause for cardiovascular disease. And so if you were stranded on a desert island and you only had one food, you would want it to be a rutabagas, or you would want it to be something from the cruciferous family. One of the other things that rutabagas is really great for, and it's something that people don't talk about a lot, is it helps with your mood, believe it or not. There is serotonin and melatonin inside of rutabagas, and so they help us to be calm. They help with our circadian rhythm. They help us to be able to sleep. Because serotonin is a neurotransmitter, it even helps us with our nervous system. So this is a complete food. Rutabagas are kind of sweet to the taste. As I said earlier, it's sort of like an apple, and it's crunchy, like an apple if you or eat it in chunks. It can be cut into a slaw. So if you wanted to have something that was more like a slaw, you could use one of the mandolins or a grater and just cut it that way. So it's an excellent food for that. Now, when you look at some of the characteristics of rutabagas, every part of it is edible. So you can actually take the seeds and sprout them. And there have been studies that have been done that show that the sprouts of rutabagas have the most antioxidant activity. And so they're the ones that are going to help you fight cancer most. They're the ones that are going to help the prevention of even things like diabetes. And we'll talk about that in a minute as well. So if you had rutabaga seed and you sprouted them and put them on your salad, that would be a great thing to do. Now the other part, this is the root part of the vegetable. It doesn't have quite as much antioxidant activity, but it actually has more antioxidant activity than other vegetables. And so when you look at it, it has more than a tomato, but not quite as much as broccoli. So it comes right in the middle, and it's an effective cancer fighter. Now, we hear a lot of talk these days of obesogens, about the toxins that are in our environment that are finding their way into our food supply, toxins that are finding their way into our water supply, toxins that are finding their way into some of the vessels that we even eat and drink from, like PCBs are, and I hope I said that right, PBAs, I'm sorry. They are lining some of the cans and they're in some of the plastics. So phthalates, they are also toxins that are found commonly in our system, in the food and water system, and really in our environment. And there have been studies to show that in the umbilical cord blood of a newborn, there are 287 different chemicals trapped there. And of those 287 toxins trapped, 217 of them are actually neurotoxins. This is astonishing, and it's also very disturbing. So when we look at the environment that we're in, we're now being told, because of the amount of toxins that are actually in the environment and finding their way into the placenta, that one of the reasons we're seeing babies who are heavy and getting heavier is because of these toxins that are now being called obesogens, and they are causing an increase not only of obesity but of also diabetes. But here is the good news. We have other studies that show that the compounds that are found in rutabagas actually detox our bodies from these obesogens. And so if you're fighting the battle of obesity, if you're fighting the battle of diabetes, if you're trying to avoid cancer, whether it be liver cancer, pancreatic cancer, whether it's colon cancer, small intestine, or even breast cancer. The glucosinolates that are found in rutabagas and indeed in all cruciferous vegetables help to neutralize those compounds and flush them out of our system. So while rutabagas have been maligned for many, many years, we're now finding new ways to eat them, and we're finding new uses for them. And if I have not said it before, I'll say it now. I do encourage people to reduce the amount of meat that they're eating, particularly red meat, and increase the amount of non-starchy vegetables that they are eating. And if you really have the courage and the stamina, I would encourage you to consider a vegetarian or a vegan diet to get the most benefit from vegetables. But if you can't, as long as you are including the cruciferous vegetables, and in particular things like rutabagas and things like turnips or broccoli or bok choy in your diet, you're going to be promoting your own health. And one of the questions that I ask people all the time, what are you doing to extend your own life? What are you doing to make sure that you don't develop chronic disease? One of the things that you absolutely want to do is to include rutabagas in your diet. I can remember as a little girl growing up, my mother would mash them like potatoes, and they have sort of a sweet, sort of a tangy taste, and they were orange. It was so interesting. I really enjoyed them. As a substitute for potatoes, you're going to get half as many calories and twice as many vitamins. So you definitely want to include rutabagas in your diet. Now let me talk just a little bit about this salad that I brought in today. This is a salad where I've chopped little pieces of rutabagas up, and it's crunchy. I won't crunch them right now, but it's crunchy like an apple. And I've included some craisins in here for color, and I've included pistachios for their ability to help us reduce to reduce cholesterol. And that, by the way, is another benefit of rutabagas. There are compounds in rutabagas that help us to lower our cholesterol, very much in the same way that carrots do. The last time I was here, I talked with you about carrots. They're very high in fiber. They also have carotenoids in them, and that helps to lower cholesterol. And so here is a cholesterol pill that would be delicious to enjoy, and it doesn't have side effects. And there's a little bit of pineapple in it just to give it, and this is crushed pineapple that was packed in juice, not in syrup. And so it gives it a little tart tang, and if you like, you can put a dressing on it. Sometimes I eat my salads without dressing at all. I just enjoy the flavors. And I encourage that you not use very much in the way of sodium. So this is a very beautiful salad, and it's also packed with nutrition. So we've talked a little bit about melatonin and the way that rutabagas help us balance even our sleep cycles. We've talked about how it supports our nervous system. We've talked about how it helps reduce cancer. So here is something else. This you're really going to love. When you pick a food that has lots of glucosinolates, when you have a lot of those in there, do you know that you're going to improve your cognitive functioning? Studies have been done to show that when elderly people are normally or routinely including vegetables in the glucosinolates, they have improved mental functioning. That means they have a lower risk of developing Alzheimer's and a lower risk of developing dementia. And at the very same time, and in the very same way, on the other end of the spectrum, when children have these kinds of vegetables in their diet, they actually have improved mental activity. So if you're thinking, how can I help Johnny to do better in school? Make sure that Johnny gets rutabagas or other glucosinolate-rich foods like broccoli or bok choy or spinach or watercress. There's a number of foods in the cruciferous food group that actually help with mental capacity. And so these are things that we don't think about much, but they are life-saving, and they will actually improve the quality of your life. And so until the next time we meet again, now I'm building on what I talked about last time. We talked about carrots last time. This time we're talking about rutabagas. We're going to also be talking about turnips a little bit and parsnips, and then we're going to put them all together in a beautiful medley. So I can't wait to share that with you. In the meantime, if you have questions, you can find me on the web at www.gwenisler.com. That's GWENISLER.com. That's my website. You can find me on Facebook at GWI Nutrition Services LLC. You can find me on Twitter at Gwen Eisler. Until next time, eat your rutabagas.